Welcome to Cathy D. Slatt's Quantum Energy Group Zoom call for March 27th, 2023. We're here on Cathy's website, cathydslat.com. To access the Zoom call, we will scroll down, look for this Zoom banner here, and click where it says click here, where it'll take us to a live call. You may want to lower the volume on your speakers. One moment, please.
Well, here we are at 10:30. Let me show you where we are. We are still, as a group, this just cleared this morning. So I came up with the little congratulations. This is our prosperity. Remember, I just did that on Thursday as an example. We are still going. And so I find that interesting. And I have checked, I'll check again, but I want to show you, we've got this up. We're just going to keep running until it clears. And, but because I took some time this weekend just to sit, I ended up watching a 7-hour War on Food symposium. Dr. Mercola had it on his thing he mails out. And I ordinarily wouldn't have had 7 hours to watch anything, but I thought, well, let me do that and see what they're talking about. And so I want to share with you. I haven't put it into organized shape yet, but I want to share with you what I learned. And I want to stress, though, we get what we focus on. So we don't want to focus on the negatives related to our food. For example, I've got a code here: clear all thoughts of impending doom, deprogram survival fear. I personally am not listening to anything that is fear-based, because this is already programmed in us. And remember, we're the generators. We create. That's our power, among other things. No person, place, or thing is my protection, only love. Clear the energy of agonizing for abundance and replace it with the energy of opening to divine flow as I give, receive, and serve. I am a conduit of divine flow. Awaken and escape from the culturally induced sleepwalk. The power of constant incoming grace. And this is pretty interesting, because this is what I tell people to expect as they continue to do this work. And even like with you, Ron, in the hearing, at some point, I believe the answer will come. It may not be SRC, it may not be the dowsers. But as I put this code in, I now experience the synchronicity after synchronicity that brings true abundance. Because what you find out is the true abundance, and I thought it might be appropriate, since that's kind of what we're still indicating a lot of stress related to, is not what we think. Actually, true abundance is knowing that we're in the middle of a matrix that's equipped to satisfy all our needs if we can get out of the way. So what the heck, now this list is not finished, but this is where we are so far. Okay, so this is pretty cool. No person, place, or thing is my protection, only love itself. And here is the thing about love. That is a sacred geometry form that actually gives coherence to our energy field. So we're not talking, just namby-pamby stuff here. We're talking sacred geometry, the energy of these various frequencies. So let's see where we are with that. And let's focus on that. I think that looks pretty good. And you notice when we initially did this, this was our primary situation as measured for resonance. God is my source. So this is something, because as we get into this food situation, it looks like a lot of people are very stressed over it. And we'll talk a little bit about it. But then I got this prayer from a book called It's Not Your Money, and I tested it for priority. There was a 92% benefit for us to run this prayer, and I'm going to do it the next 30 days. That doesn't quite take us to the end of April, but that was our resonance. And I want to show you how you can work with the mastery on that. I just went ahead and put this whole statement as our theme. And look at our acceptance, 995%. Our evaluation, and then what'll happen, because we've got this in here as the theme, this will stay, even with us checking every 30 days or every day for the next 30 days for a new series of stressors that might be blocking this. So let's just look where we are right now. So we see at this moment in time, see, we're starting with stress related to heavy metal. So when we look at this, Divine Beloved, allow me to give with complete ease and abundance, knowing that you are the unlimited source of all. Let me be an easy, open conduit for your prosperity. Let me trust that all my own needs are met in amazing ways, and that it's safe to give freely as my heart guides. And equally, let me be wildly open to receiving. May I know my own value and worthiness without question. Let me allow others the supreme pleasure of giving to me. May I feel worthy to receive in every possible way. Change me into one who can fully love, forgive, and accept myself, so I may carry your light without restriction. Let everything that needs to go, go. Let everything that needs to come, come. I am surely your own. We are one. All is well. And this comes again from the book, It's Not Your Money. The last name of the author is Silver. And I'll start that. It'll go for 30 days. Now, going on down, I haven't put all this together yet. Excuse me. But a few thoughts and things that we can focus on. They do want us to check out those that were the presenters, and the presenters they called it War on Food. I probably wouldn't have wanted to call it that, but that's what it was called. They said check out biodigital convergence, and I think you'll get an idea of what that means. But the future of food is ours to decide, so on and so forth. What's happening, and this again, I'm going to put it together the best I can. There are certain things they've added to our foods, like the glyphosates, which actually are altering the pathways, our pathways of that we need for our optimal cellular energy. And in reference to amino acids, as I listened to this presentation, I realized that could be why amino acids keeps coming up as a source of stress. It could be the glyphosates. Now, I know I wrote this down, the same corporations that poisoned us. That's a little negative, I know. But unfortunately, and I'm going to presume it's just to make money. I don't think they're trying to kill us. But unfortunately, there's a lot of damage that has been done, and we'll go on. Humans engineered to interact with machines. And the glyphosate, that's showing up even in the non-GMO. We need to get that off the table. In this, a little bit more information. Glyphosate inhibits an enzyme in the pathway known as the such and such, involved in the synthesis of tyrosine, tryptophan, and phenylalanine. And this pathway is related to our gut bacteria. So you can see, they talked a lot about super weeds. I don't know where you would go to pick weeds. To be careful with that. We want food sovereignty. Now, there's a few groups I personally am going to look into. For example, this Children's Health Defense. I'm going to find some organic farmers to buy directly from, although we do have some real good places here in St. Pete that may work just fine. What has been happening is that the small farms are being eradicated. And one thing I did not know, farmers now commit suicide, small farmers, at twice the rate of other professions, even vets. So, again, putting some codes together. Clear the American diet of high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated oils, and factory-farmed animal products that contain carcinogenic and endocrine-disrupting pesticides, antibiotics, growth hormones, heavy metals, and chemicals. And again, we'll have some more codes probably. But right now, let's just see how we resonate with this, because we are, most of us in here are pretty conscious. We're not eating a lot of things out of boxes. Let's just see where we are. It's respectable. There's a little chronic stress, but this particular code we're accepting. And let's just see. I'm seeing a lot of power adding some of these things to the primary situation box when it correlates. So look at that right there. So let's just put that in. One half of all Americans are suffering from a preventable diet-related illness. We need 2 to 3 cups of vegetables per day, and they said we don't even grow that much right now in the corporate structure. And this was interesting. I've said often that we get concerned. We've got a lot of information out there, but if they'd had the internet way back, I think we would have been just as concerned then too, things we just didn't know. One example they gave in 1933 with people standing in bread lines, you can imagine the amount of money this would have been in 1933. They spent $31 million to buy and dispose of 6.4 million hogs. Now, there could be some reasons for that we don't understand, but that really shook me. So then here's the next one. The public is now aware of the importance of eliminating industrialized food from their diet, as they accept that eating such food products then create dependence on industrialized medicine. So what do they say? There's no money in healthy people? Possible. Let's amp that up for now. Now this is a big one, and I've got this running in the fuel generator for planet Earth, and it's been going since I first put it in, which is a couple of days now. Corbett Report, Technocracy News are all sites you can get more information. Here is the thing. The glyphosate does not degrade. I think initially they thought that with time it would just leave. It doesn't do that. So here's a code to accelerate this degradation until it is removed from the planet, because I know I was surprised at all of the things the glyphosate has now been related to, including autism. And remember, we are equipped, especially if we would unify, to accomplish anything. I'm going to talk a little bit about one state that did just that. Repair damage to the heart. This raw milk thing, this was another. This was very interesting, that some of the things they're doing to the milk in the form of homogenization and pasteurization are definitely linked to heart disease, which is right up there at the top as far as forms of stress in this country. So I have a couple of those in there. I think I misspelled that first one. That might be why. I think I need to take that out and put this other one in. But if you go to Mercola, if any of you are on his mailing list, this is where I got this 7-hour series. It was a summit. And I'm thankful, actually, that I was a little low energy, because I probably wouldn't have sat here and listened to it, and I'm glad I did. It gave me a lot of thoughts. Regenerate this pathway we're talking about, that the glyphosate and the different, not just the glyphosate, but the different things involved seem to do. All right, so here's a little bit more on the some of the things in reference to the glyphosates related to dysbiosis, autism, depression, anxiety, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. Seems that it's in our wine and beer. Here's a book, Toxic Legacy, all about the glyphosate, celiac disease, very much tied into our mental, our brain, few minerals. It actually makes many minerals unavailable. And then they mentioned Florida, that our waterways, because so much of this stuff goes there, we're seeing some real problems, and we are seeing some problems with the citrus trees and what they need. And I thought, well, this is interesting. 60 million plus farmers now leave conventional farming and instead farm organically. And believe it or not, that's not that many farmers. We still have a whole bunch of small farmers on this planet. So I thought, what the heck? There's a code for it. Let's look. Let's just put that in there. Again, I'll go back and tweet during the day. Because what it's talking about, these farmers need to make money. They are the stewards of the land. At present, we're paying, our government subsidize bad farmings. And so I think you're aware of that. There's another group, Regenerate International. Here's another one, Block All Attacks on Organic Farming and Farmers. And I got tickled at this. Instead of looking at our gross national products, how about gross national happiness? I thought that sounded pretty good. This is also very interesting. All intentional misinformation campaigns that discredit the importance of organic farming are discredited by the collective as they gather information for themselves. Because actually the organic fields have a higher yield. And so then again, another code, Planet Earth now transitions from toxic industrial agriculture to diverse smallholder regenerative organic agriculture. This is a book by a woman from India. I don't know if this one's inscribed or not. And it's about what happened in India when they switched to organic. They had people starving. They call it food insecurity. But they had people starving. And they went over to organic, and they got 2.5 times the production from the same parcels of land. So the book is there. And then I want to show you this. A lot of times with this stuff, when it's, and all this has been doused in over the weekend, but this one we wanted in the mastery, End Food Insecurity and Nourish the World. And that's going to run for 90 days. And you know how our scan comes up to tell us some of the things blocking. And one thing that came up, take this as you choose, is demonic attack. And most of us, we don't want to think of that kind of energy. We don't want to give it any credibility. But when you listen to the kind of information that was presented, you do wonder if there isn't an all-out attack on the human being. And that did come up in our scan for the first day. We are poisoning the wildlife as well as the land. We want food sovereignty. This was a really interesting speaker, and he talked about weeds. Excuse me, and he said, whatever weeds you get in your garden, they're there for a reason. Don't just pull them. There's a message. He was fascinating. He suggested we look at this SRI Rice organization. Here's another, I don't remember now what this variolation is. I'll have to look it up. Here's another fantastic group, Moms Across America, Neighborhood Food Solutions. They mentioned government-sanctioned poison. Anyway, I just wrote it down for now. Farmish app, farmmatch.com. At Weston A. Price, you can't go wrong with. Here's one called W.W. Wolf. Here's a movie they say that is quite wonderful, and it is on YouTube, Communities Arising. This was an excellent speaker. I may just have to send you my rough notes. I transcend the suffering of humanity. Now, in Maine, I don't know if this guy is from Maine or not. I want to mention Maine before we're finished here. But you might want to look. This is one of our few representatives that's actually looking out for the small farmer. And there's a lot to look out for from what I learned over the weekend. For example, it turns out most of our meat packers are Chinese. I mean, this is all happening even out of the country. It's pretty concerning. I'm not sure now. I need to double check the farm bill, if it's 100 billion or million. Organic Consumers Association. Now this, I just got to add this one thing, all right? And if anybody has any knowledge on this, please share. But when I finished, I was a little like, I gotta get off. And I ended up listening to something about Led Zeppelin, the band. And it turned, they were very successful. And it turned out they believed in something called electric magic. In other words, that they could actually overlay various information in their music to influence the masses. Has anybody else ever heard of anything like that?
We do it all the time with vibration at 528 and
yeah, but I think it could be done in a negative way as well, and we need to be aware of that.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, it was quite interesting, and apparently Led Zeppelin played with this kind of thing quite a bit, and I never kept up with all that. I was never into those bands even as a young person, but apparently they had tragedy after tragedy. And that reminds me of when I first got into this kind of work and I was looking at radionics machines, and someone said, you better be careful with that because people who get into radionics often have bad luck. And I thought that makes no sense till I kept looking things up and discovered back then you could also use the radionics to send negative energy. That is no longer the case. Those were the old machines. So yeah, if anybody has any more information on that, please let me know because it's compelling.
Remember that recorded music is at 440, which is harmful, versus 432.
Yep, that is actually our focus for next month. Is going to be water and music, because that's exactly right. That 440, which is primary, is extremely destructive. And one thing I read said that John Lennon was actually working with the 528 hertz, and that his song Imagination, that was working with 528 hertz, etc. And that kind of got him in the doghouse with a few people. But again, we read, we take the information, we take it as a positive. We have to be aware. We don't want to focus on it, but we have to be aware so we can change it, because we do have the power to do that. So let's just look and see. Now this is where we were, and you can see we're still not finished with that. We're not going to focus again. Well, see, attract prosperity, complete harmonization, change skeptical belief structures and patterns.
The prayer that you started out with,
Yes.
would it be a good idea to clear the pineal of the calcification that we've got going on?
Sounds good to me. Let's look. And again, this is all subtle energy. Yeah, look at that. Whoa. I'll go to Grabavoy and get a code. That it does seem, just using even myself as an example, that our memories aren't as good as they could be, and et cetera, et cetera. And I do think a lot of the environmental stress may be related to that. The only thing I know to do right now for heavy metal is zeolite, which I'm taking. If any of you others, because that is our top thing in reference to that prayer, what's blocking us mentally from absorbing it was actually the heavy metal related stress.
Frankincense, rose. There was also cod liver oil, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, with all this talk, and that's one of the things I didn't get into, I realize, Maine, the state of Maine, has completely turned their situation around up there. And if you do listen to the seminar or summit or whatever they call it, they got turned down over and over and over and over, like 10 times before they finally got legislation through to protect the small farmer. And it was just a real lesson in persistence, and you make up your mind and you get it done, because they in Maine apparently were just flat wiping out the small farmers, and they really had a battle. So the corporate structure is where all this heavy metal and glyphosate, et cetera, it may be that they felt they had to do this in order to feed the population, but that would be an example of misinformation. It's just not true. Something we've been programmed with, but it is not true. So anyway, any other thoughts? But what I was getting to, there's a lot of communities now that are getting together, and they're having their little gardens, and they're making their own herbal remedies. And for those who don't want to grow herbs, you can certainly make some remedies with these oils, can't you, Susan?
You could also get roller bottles.
Yes.
And add some of the oils into a roller bottle.
Yeah.
That way. Because it also indicated that it was quite positive reaction just by breathing them in.
Sniffing. That's exactly right. Well, what I'm going to do for my next project, and we'll see how it works out, I have a bare spot in my front yard. I live on a somewhat busy street, and I've got one bare spot, and I'm going to plant basil out there, because according to the Chinese, basil is a very good luck plant, and it's loaded with nutrition. So you can, have it out there. I don't know what it'll be like getting that traffic fumes. I'll have to test that. But that's going to be my next project, even if I just grow it for the energy of it. But the other thing is, if you didn't want to fool with that, there's basil essential oil.
So, Cathy?
Yeah.
What about if we all started to just do a little sprouting in our kitchens?
You got it.
I mean, that would be, that might be an idea. At least we get that we know would be a healthy thing every day, in addition to the oils. I love the oils.
And then also, we can send ourselves many herbal cocktails with our software. I just don't think that's the only thing. I think we have to do several different things.
Right.
And probably starting with, which is really difficult, is not eating the processed stuff.
I have a friend who lived in the middle of the ocean for 3 years without seeing land or being resupplied, and he lived on sprouts, on flying fish landing on his deck, and he had a supply of rice and beans and things, in his hold that he could cook up, but his fresh food was all sprouts for 3 years.
I love that. Yes. So it is 11:01, and I guess with that, I'll see you guys on Thursday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Cathy. Hope you feel better.
I'm sure
Yes,
I will.
be well.
Thank you, Cathy. Feel better.
See you
Thank you,
later.
Cathy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
This concludes Cathy's Quantum Energy Group Zoom call. Thank you for participating. We look forward to seeing you again. Till then, take care and be well.